Fishing trips anywhere, anytime. FishingBooker.com.
Midway USA has traditional cap and ball revolvers and accessories, along with the most modern inline muzzle-loading rifles. Cowboy action shooters and other fans of traditional black powder shooting will find a great selection of fully functioning replica Old West Army and Navy revolvers, plus all the necessary materials to help them go bang, like percussion caps, loaders, patches and wads, and round balls too. We carry a full line of inline rifles, as well as 209 primers, black powder substitutes, and bullets and sabots. For just about everything for black powder, shop MidwayUSA.com.
I found a kid who swings a golf club like a dream. I'd like to try to qualify him for the U.S. Amateurs.
Coming to Apple TV Plus.
What's your name?
I'm not into older guys, but I'm flattered.
A new comedy series, Stick.
I don't want to go on this trip.
Your mouth's saying one thing, but those eyes are saying something else.
From the home of Ted Lasso.
This is your shot at redemption? This is your mulligan?
Owen Wilson.
This game takes and it takes. The game's finally giving me something back.
Stick.
You know Arnold Palmer?
Iced tea, lemonade, mix it.
I'm missing a nap for this.
Streaming June 4th on Apple TV Plus.
We're soon to 300, so stay tuned for that. Not sure what we're going to do yet. Still kind of coming up with some stuff. If you guys think of something, just hit us up with it. But, yeah, this is going to be a real good podcast. We're going to turn the tables. We're getting to the spring fling, so we're going to take on to a fishing podcast. But before that, this is your boy East Coast Trev and the Madman himself. Madman, what is going on, dude?
Oi.
Oi. Oh, it's like that, eh?
I mean, hold on. Hey.
Oi is, that's actually Portuguese for hello. Oi, I think.
Oh.
Or oi. Yeah, never mind. We'll leave that to them.
Anyways, yeah. I'm getting ready to go. Hey. Like Canada.
Canada. Oh, yeah. You leave what? The end of this next week?
Sunday.
Oh. So we won't hear from you before you leave. This is the last one before you get to going. Buddy. That's cool. You got quite the crew going to do that.
Get me on the inReach.
Oh, you guys got quite the crew?
Yeah. Yep. It's me, Seth, and Chris Bittman in my truck, and Dad and Maddie in Dad's truck.
Oh, jeez. Yep. Who let the dogs out, huh?
We rolling deep.
You guys are going to get stopped at the border.
Well, we kind of have to stop, but hopefully we're not there long.
Yeah. You keep on rolling.
Nope, I'm looking forward to it, bud. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
Baits are getting smoked. We got good weather coming.
It looked as so. I mean,
should be a good week.
Brian's been posting up a ton of real good stuff of big baits getting hit, so I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys and somebody smoking a giant up there. We'll have actually, was it next week we have a recap for the Canadian bear trip, I think?
Well, I think it'd be 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Because next week I'll be there, so it'll be the following week.
You're right. So 2 weeks. Yep. I think next week we're recording with someone, and then the week after you guys will be doing the Canadian thing. So hopefully the whole crew's on. I hope it's the whole shemanet here. We're gonna have 15 of us on the old podcast ripping it up about talking about killing big black bears.
I thought it would be cool to have a pre-recording. Like, get, like, Chris and Seth on, like, ask them questions, like, going, because I've never been. Like, just to hear, like, their thoughts and feelings and what, like, what they're thinking going into it. And then finish it after, like, how it changes before and after. But, like, here at the Outdoor Drive, we are not organized enough to do that. So the idea died there.
Yeah, it was a good thought. I mean, it could be a video while you're driving up there or something when you got the boys in the truck. I mean, that's about that. I mean, dude, listen, we're booked. We're booked for 2 months, so I guess we got a little bit more organization behind us.
Double booked in some spots, but that's okay.
We can never have too much, I guess. Too much. So no, it'll be a cool trip. I can't wait to hear all about it. I know it's kind of tough. You guys will kind of be out of service and stuff, but
I think there's actually Starlink at camp now, though.
Oh,
we got that Elon satellite.
Yeah. Huh.
But yeah, once you leave camp, though, you're not in service.
You're out of it. Well, at least, you guys could always send me inReach through Messenger for Garmin, and I could always post it up on the story that, bear down or whatever. Just kind of feel them in and what's going on. So it'd be cool. At least it's going to start off the spring season. You guys always do good up there. The boys up there, Brian, they tear up a good camp. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm pumped, dude. It's like one of those things, like, every year it comes and it's like, I don't know, there's nothing like it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. That's definitely someone's shooting a 300 plus. I foresee that in the.
I would put money on it. There's 11 guys in camp next week. I would put money on that at least one 300-pounder gets killed next week for sure.
Hopefully it's our crew. Hopefully, we can only hope. But so, what else is new, man? With turkey season's kind of coming to the dwindling end, and it's kind of funny. Is I know we always kind of we've been beating a dead horse here, but it's been a tough turkey grind for the last couple of weeks, dude. It's been something else, and it's not only just us, because Matt Weddish, I talked to Chris Bittman about it. I talked to our boys, the Bullfrog Outdoors. He was saying that it's been super tough and very hard to make it happen. Just like no gobbles. We hit like 10 spots, man, and literally no gobbles. It's like, I don't know what the frig is going on here in the state. I don't know. It's just...
Yeah, I don't know either. I honestly didn't hunt Connecticut really at all. Like I had that one morning with Maddie a couple weeks, not last Saturday, Saturday before, and a couple like 2 hours before work.
Yeah.
But I didn't really get a chance to really get out there in Connecticut to see. But I agree. I've heard the same thing from everybody.
It's tough. It's one last Saturday. We'll give it the old, college try, bell ringer. But it's just, I don't know. It's tough. It seems it's across the board, but a lot of people have been grinding and been getting it. A lot of tables have turned now, a lot of good things. Other than that, fishing's been super smoking. Things have been really good for guys. Actually, I texted you today. We passed here in Connecticut for Sunday hunting with all implements, so it's just got to go to house, which is super huge for us. No minimum acreage and no migratory, which is a pretty cool push for us. So we can turkey hunt on Sundays, deer hunt with rifles on Sundays. So that's a pretty big push if it goes. Pretty cool to hear about it, honestly. Did you see that? The other thing is that, did you see that new tick with the new disease? It was the first one in Connecticut that was found?
Yeah. It's similar to Lone Star, though, right?
It's typically carried by the Lone Star tick, that invasive disease, which is pretty crazy. I don't know. I tried doing a little bit of research on it, but I didn't gather too much. It just was saying that it's like a bacteria that is carried by that one tick. Which is kind of crazy in my opinion.
Yeah, I forgot what it was called. That it was similar to Lone Star. It like had that.
Yeah, it's
that Texas vibe.
So it comes on the longhorn tick. It's infected.
There it is.
Yeah, it was on the longhorn tick, but I don't even know how to say it's a tick-borne illness. It's similar disease to the Rocky Mountain spotted fever, but the symptoms are typically milder. Which is pretty crazy. So just another thing to kind of look out for. I can't really even say.
Maybe that's what's happening to all the turkeys. They're eating those ticks.
Eating those ticks and just dying off.
They're getting the fever.
It's not that there's lacks of turkeys, because there's plenty of turkeys out there. I think that it's just kind of like died off quick, like whether it started earlier or what the case may be, but just like to not hear the gobbles.
We started later.
We did start later.
So maybe we just got into like the post breeding quicker in the season.
Yeah, and the heat, that big huge heat wave in the middle of it. I don't know, it's just kind of weird.
The other thing too that I think, I mean, this doesn't affect like hearing gobbles, I don't think, but like getting on birds and seeing birds, like a lot of guys like to hunt fields. Like most guys turkey hunt fields. Right. I'm not one of those guys, but a lot of guys do. Because of the weather we had, between a lot of rain and a lot of heat, the hay jumped up this year. So hay was like almost too high for turkeys mid-season.
Yeah, so it would
push. I'm not a turkey expert, but like I would think that would push the birds farther back into the timber, maybe more into the creek bottoms and the thicker timber, and then you got green up, which is going to make it harder to hear them. And if you're just a guy that's like sitting on a field edge, now that bird's an extra 500 yards back in some creek bottom, you're never going to hear him gobble, right? But that doesn't explain someone like yourself who's going to run the ridges out and cover all the ground and still not be able to hear him.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of crazy to me. And the thing that, that scares me with the whole thing with them being ground nesting birds is like with all the water, right? And which has always been an issue in the past where when you have a lot of water, you flood out those nests, kill I'm thinking next year, right? You think it's tough this year. What happens next year and the year after? So,
well, I was thinking the opposite. Because it was so hard and there was so many rainy Saturdays, a lot of jakes did not get killed this year. So next year might
is
be
good.
Okay. It's the following year where this year's hatch would be longbeards.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's all trickle effect. It's all coming downhill.
Yeah, it's just kind of crazy. Yeah, we'll see what happens though. I mean, I guess I know where I'm going. I'm not focusing my time down here. I can say that much.
Did you see Josh and Jared Stubbs linked up with Eric?
Yes, I did.
Eric said, or Josh texted Eric after, and he said, him and Jared were talking of their 28 turkey kills this year. The New Hampshire hunt with Eric was their favorite hunt of the year,
which is so cool.
And then Eric said, between me and you, it's not between me and him anymore because I'm about to say it on the podcast, but Eric said, between me and you, your main bird was even better. And I was like, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time. I'm glad those guys linked up.
Me too.
That's super cool for all of them, and I know they hit it off good, and they had a great hunt.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of really cool things, I want to definitely shout out Nick Brinson. I think that's how you say it. Is that how you say it? I think it is. I hope it is. Man, I hope it is. Please hope it is. He had a really cool barbecue cook-off that we actually got to go and hang out at. It was a cool event, like super cool, put together very well. So what he did was he had 8 teams that fought it out with their smokers, barbecue. They did chicken, pork, and beef, and they fought it out to give back to charity. This year was for kids in the NICU. So it was super cool. Wicked awesome. Cannot wait until next year to go and do it. Nick, huge shout out to you and what you got going on over there, because that was just a cool event. Just blessed in the opportunity to be able to go down there, hang out, and kind of see it and see what you got going on. So I went there. It was
awesome.
not.
And I don't know if it was lack of, maybe you miscommunicated to me back in February, or maybe I just didn't hear you right. But I thought I was going to a chili cook-off, and everyone's like, "Where are you going Saturday?" I was like, this chili cook-off. This kid puts it on, and it's just a bunch of buddies that just cook chili or whatever. Showed up. Nah, dude, it was way better than I expected, and it was smoked meat, which is, I like chili. Don't get me wrong, but smoked meat's better than chili. So yeah, dude, it was way surpassed what I was expecting.
Yeah, I think I told you barbecue cook-off. You probably got that mixed up for I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
But no,
it was incredible.
You definitely don't leave there hungry. There's
no.
You don't. The thing is, you don't think that 8 Dixie cups of smoked meat is going to fill you up, but by the time of it,
8 chicken cups, and then it's 8 pork cups, and then it's 8 beef cups, and then I can't turn down a little bit of mac and cheese, homemade mac and cheese,
smoked mac and cheese, mind you,
and
there was some peach cobbler in there.
Peach cobbler, smoked that little s'more thing.
Yeah, it was good.
I ran into Nick today randomly, and he already brought up next year, so I was like, oh sweet, we're already invited next year. And I was like, is that always the same Saturday? And he's like, no, it's always in May, but we pick it in January. So I'm like, I'm putting that on my calendar next year.
Yeah. Oh no, we're definitely getting a ton of tickets and bringing down a posse, because it's a good event and it goes to a good cause. I didn't think, going what you were saying, I didn't know what we were walking ourselves into. I knew it was a barbecue contest, and he was telling me about it. But they hire actual judges, from the county fair, those guys that do it. Those are the ones that are there. So super cool event. And we'll definitely be back for more. some other things in news. Don't forget to go to the Into the Wild. I'll post the link here again. Make sure to get your tickets. We're looking forward to that. Huntstock in New York was actually canceled, so it was going to be the same weekend. So if you guys were planning on going there, now you can come and join us Into the Wild. So that post will be down there. You guys can go and get your tickets for that. It's actually a full 3D event across the mountain. Go back a couple episodes and you can hear all about it, but we'll actually be up there that weekend. So make sure to get your tickets for that. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Let's hit through the sponsors, and we're going to get the boys from Square-Tailed Anglers from the Deerfield River on to talk about some fishing. We're going to turn the pages just a little bit.
You have no idea how pumped I am for this podcast. Like, we talked to him a while ago,
yeah.
like Mohegan Sun Show, and like kind of like throwing it out there. But like since then, I'm like fully addicted to fly fishing now. So like this is like I'm pumped for today, dude. We were at
in weeks, you went from not to like 100 in.
I caught a pumpkin seed and a crappie, and now I'm like I'm a fly fisherman, dude. I went for I killed like an hour before Nick's cook off with the fly rod, and I couldn't catch a fish. And then we're at the cook off, and I'm just like housing Dixie cups full of smoked meat. Just thinking, I'm like, I gotta go back. I'm gonna go catch that fish. I gotta go catch a fish. Like, all I could think about was catching that stupid trout at the cook-off. Went back, still did not catch a fish.
Right.
And then I went back Sunday morning and finally, well, I'll tell the whole story in a couple weeks, I think. But so stay tuned for that. But finally landed 2 nice trout on the fly rod. And like, dude, I'm freaking hooked. Like, no pun intended. Like, so you'll laugh at this to tie it all together. You're talking about Into the Wild. That show in New York, dude. There's like a freaking, if you go on what's the name of this app, Trout Roots, there's a gold medal river like right next to where the thing is. I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely bringing the fly rod that weekend.
All right, let's do it. We'll bring the fly rod. Stevie, we're gonna crack you right into some good times, because late season trout management areas up here are fire. In the late season, like December, January.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The fall is supposed to be good too, but that's deer season. Like,
yeah, no, but the late season. You know what? I know we talk about it a lot, but you're gonna get so bitten. We're gonna end up at the Salmon River in Pulaski doing some trout salmon.
I was just watching a guy on YouTube there last night. To be honest with you. For sure, dude. I got all the flies down too now. Like a couple weeks ago, I didn't know what the difference was, and now I'm like, oh, bro, I know what that is.
Blue winged.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No, I got it down, buddy.
He's midging with 22 midges. He's on it. He's ready to rock and roll with the fly rod. So.
Yep. But no, it's been fun. And then the other thing too is it's like now that like it's probably because I notice it more, but now that like it's like my biggest interest, it's like it's freaking popping up everywhere. Like,
yeah, because you talk about it, be about it. That's how it goes.
It's all in my algorithms and stuff, and it's like, oh man, I'm like at work, like listening to the fly fishing podcast and stuff, and then tonight I get to record one. Like this is what it's all about, baby.
Let's break through, dude. We'll get the boys on. Give me 1 second. Here we go. All right, guys. Bowtech refused to fall. If you guys haven't gone and shot a Bowtech, make sure to do it. It's the off season. It's time to start thinking about shooting your bow. If you're not shooting your bow, make sure to go and shoot one. Bowtech. Huntworth, get more for less with Huntworth gear. As always, the early season stuff, your Durhams, Shelton hoodies, that kind of stuff. But also think towards your heat boost. If you haven't hunted with heat boost or checking it out, make sure to do so. It will get you through those cold days in the woods, make you stay longer and kill bigger bucks. Latitude Outdoors. If you guys are mobile hunters, the Carbon SS sticks are where it's at. No questions asked. Some of the new platforms, they actually came out with a 2.0, so go and check that out. That's definitely where it's at. There was a couple of sales on saddles. I'm not sure if they are still on sale, but you can also use the promo code Outdoor Drive and save some to get yourself your own sale. Fourth Arrow camera arms. If you guys are self-filming at all or thinking about self-filming, make sure to go and check out Fourth Arrow. We actually use the monopod throughout the turkey season. hands down probably one of the best tools to put in the purse to get you through. I'm actually looking forward to doing it for some ground and pounding for whitetails on the edge of some ag fields and stuff. The monopod's definitely where it at. Working Class Bow Hunter, workingclassbowhunter.com. Use the promo code Outdoor Drive over there. Get yourself some merch. Stevie, they made a new shirt for you. Did you see that shirt?
No.
Stay. It says "Stay Mad," and it's
Really?
Yeah. It's
Is it a turkey?
no, it's deer, but
No, I was just saying because I was mad at the turkeys.
yeah, I know. But now you're gonna have to get mad at the deer, so they made a new
I'm gonna have
T-shirt
to
for
talk
you.
to Kurt. Do I get royalties on that?
You might. I don't know. I saw it and I'm like, oh, Marty's gonna be pissed, but. Go and
check it out.
Yeah, you're gonna have to check that out. And then last but not least, our man over at Sadie's Ammo, Sadie's LLC, for you guys that are duck hunting, turkey hunting, or just needing any type of shotgun loads. Go and check out our man Sadie's, Aaron Satterfield, Sadie's LLC. And then as always, make sure to get yourself ready for Into the Wild. The link will be below, so you guys can get your tickets there, and we'll see you guys up there in a couple of weeks. The Outdoor Drive Podcast.
We put our Bass Autobahn stickers on our property, or like on our vehicles, or the sanctuary ones.
Yeah.
They think we're out bird watching or something until we come through the woods dragging one.
Right.
Dude, dog walkers out here. I hunt a bunch of woods out in the more populated areas, and I mean, some of the spots I'll have 2 or 3 people and their dogs go by me through the morning before the deer start moving, and you go in there and you got like a big dog sticker on your back of the windshield, not a hunting dog sticker, just like a trail dog. I love my dog, and
I love my lab.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly I hate hunting those spots, but I mean where I'm at, I know there's some slammer deer in them, so I kind of put up with it. But it's a son of a gun, man. I mean, years ago I met this lady and she kills big ones in there, and it was kind of getting a conversation with her, and she was like, all summer I write down all the walkers in the area. She was like, there's groups of ladies that walk their dogs in here and stuff like that. She was like, so I mark them all down. And she was like clockwork. That big group of people walk through, and about 15, 20 minutes later, deer will start moving through the trail.
So she
sense.
literally...
So she's patterning the nature walkers.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
See, we got to turn our trail cameras around.
Yeah, we're
onto the
looking in the
walking trail.
wrong way.
I'm already saying too much on here.
No, this is good stuff.
This is good knowledge. This is good knowledge. Only
Let's
3
move
people
on to
listen,
fishing.
so...
That's that. You know what that is, Chef? Those are them ladies up there. Where were we? Rhode Island.
Yeah, Rhode
I'm
Island.
not gonna tell you good luck.
Yeah, I'm not gonna wish
Yeah.
it.
Well, I'm not gonna tell you to break a leg.
Yeah.
Like
That's the exact kind of people I'm talking about. One of the ladies I walk in my bow one day, and she's like, "You're not gonna kill something, are you?" And I'm like, "Probably not, but
I hope.
yeah,
She thought she was gonna get underneath your skin. Well, she did.
yeah, a little bit." I mean, she knew for a fact I wasn't gonna kill nothing.
That's crazy. Well, boys, we're definitely live here on the Outdoor Drive. We can't thank them enough for getting on and joining us, the square-tailed anglers, John and Quinn. How we doing, guys?
We're doing good, man. Live the dream.
We appreciate you jumping on, man. It's I know it's in the heart of your guys' season, but I know everybody kind of wants to know what you got going on. So why don't we turn this thing right in four-wheel drive? Why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about what you guys do?
So I'm John Bunker. I started Square-Tail Anglers, I think it was like 12 or 13 years ago now. We're out in Western Mass, primarily on the Deerfield River. It's an area that I grew up in as a kid. I mean, I was, I think, less than 2 years old holding a rod. It wasn't a fishing rod, but I was on the Deerfield. My old band had me fishing on the Deerfield since I was pretty much able to walk. And, yeah, it was kind of hard to leave. I mean, I went away to college up in New Hampshire for a little bit, went to school for fisheries biology, did my undergrad and my master's in that. And a lot of clients were like, oh, that must help you a lot with the whole fishing thing. I said, no, it just makes you overanalyze everything and not keep it simple into the game, right?
Yeah.
You kind of get into the head of what these fish are doing, and it kind of makes things worse. But, yeah, so it's been good. It's been a crazy, 12 or 13 years, and it's been cranking ever since. And, the demand for fishing guides in Western Mass here is kind of picked up just through social media and everything, and what we kind of have to offer for drift boat fishing, not only on the Deerfield but other rivers around here. That it seems like we come up with a new floatable spot every year, where we find a new stretch of river to float, you know, um, a new stretch of river or a completely different river or tributary that you just wouldn't think would be floatable during, most times of the year. But there's some pretty big fish out here that clients have realized they don't really have to travel too far to get into. So, and there's a lot of wild fish, stock fisheries. Stock trout is kind of it's a put and take fishery in New England for the most part, and there's some wild fisheries here and there. The Deerfield provides an ample supply of stock fish, but we also have reproducing browns and rainbows, and that's kind of like the big attraction. So there's different studies going on now with the Deerfield with the wild fish. We've done tracking studies with telemetry tracking on the fish over multiple years. But the wild fish is kind of the draw to the area, and big wild fish. We're talking like 2-footers, 24, anything 22, 24, and above is kind of
over
draws.
20 is what we look for.
Yeah, yep. So I think it was, I don't know, it's been 3 years now. I think I found Quinn through a company, a fly shop out east. Or Quinn found me, I guess. And yeah, he's from here. I'll let him give a little background on him. So,
yeah, so I mean, usually I get called out for it pretty quick. I grew up northern Vermont, probably like 15 minutes from the Canadian border. Well, St. Albans, Vermont, it's 15, 20 minutes from the Canadian border. If you head up to go visit me where I'm at, my parents, better bring your passport, because if you miss the exit, you're gonna need it, 100%. But yeah, I lived out there my entire childhood. Lived out there until I was 18 years old. My wife, actually, she's a pharmacist. She went to Mass College Pharmacy, and then I got sick of doing the commute, so I moved out here to Massachusetts. And then pretty soon to moving to Massachusetts, I kind of realized that in Western Mass, there's some really big trout. And then in the Boston area, I can chase really big saltwater fish on a fly rod. And so things kind of just went to a rabbit hole for me. I mean, I grew up doing bass fishing tournaments with my father and stuff, and then kind of converted him to fly fishing. And then now, I mean, the last time I touched a gear rod was, I think last year I was on a charter with my father that I do for Father's Day, and we had too many fish on. I reeled one in for him, and that was the first time I touched a gear rod in close to a decade. And just kind of the way I do it. And then, I mean, yeah, once I moved out here, man, a lot of people don't really think about Western Massachusetts in general as being a big fish destination. But I mean, the way I put it to guys is, from where I'm at, I can drive an hour and a half any direction. Whether you want to chase stripers, smallmouth carp, or big wild trout, within an hour of where I'm at right now, I'll take you to do it, and we'll have a good time doing it. And for me, growing up on Lake Champlain, I chased a lot of variety. And I always thought I had a big variety, but now that I'm out here, once you introduce the saltwater fishing into it, and just some of the rivers that are uncharted around here for smallmouth, pike, and carp, it's a really good time. And like John was saying earlier, with the warm water and stuff, we try to, once the water gets to the point where it's not really great to catch a trout, I really try to push my clients into going and chasing other stuff. And one of the things is, I mean, a lot of guys don't push them to it. I've never seen anybody that I put on a carp or a smallmouth, then they caught it and didn't have a giant smile on their face and want to do it again.
I think, you guys are hitting the nail on the head when it comes to it, and what New England actually has to offer as far as the fishery here. We have some of the best fishery in the world, like hands down, like you said, to be in the salt in no time, to be in the mountains, to catching wild trout, it's just there's so much in the fisheries here in New England that it's just like, it's the craziest thing. And it's an untapped resource. Every time you go around the corner, you can catch a fish somewhere else. It just it blows my mind.
Well, the funny thing is, like, just when we think, like, obviously with social media and stuff, like, things are starting to get maybe a little crowded. I wouldn't say crowded, but more popular, on the Deerfield or other rivers around here. But you think that happens, and all of a sudden we go to one of these little small rivers, like in southern Vermont that we're looking at, and there's like another 2-foot brown right there, They're there. Like the fish are there, just like the deer. The deer are there. You just got to be able to get them and find them, you know. But to be able to have like
Not even
wild
out.
fish is pretty cool. You know, like wild reproducing fish. I mean, the only trout that's native out here is the brook trout, right up and down the Appalachian. You used to have the brook trout. So what's cool about the fish on the Deerfield that they've been doing the studies with the browns and rainbows, they're stocking fish every year, no matter what. But they've done genetic studies and makeup on their strain, and the wild fish came from a hatchery strain over 50 years ago, which is pretty cool. So like those fish have been in the river for 50 years, reproducing on their own, evolving, you know, making it through every sort of environmental change that's happened in the last 50 years. Wow. And pretty much like any stockfish they put in is kind of just there for put and take. They'll hold over from for a couple of years, but that wild strain is like has been there for over 50 years. So I don't see it really going anywhere in the near future.
And we got some other cool populations of reproducing fish. There's a bunch of dams that just came down in Massachusetts, and a lot of people don't really know that one of the heaviest populated landlocked salmon runs in the Northeast is actually right here in Massachusetts on a small river. And so that particular river, I won't say the name of it, people can do the work and figure it out. It's not very hard to figure out. But one of the sister rivers to it that was blocked off by a dam opened up another, I think, 25 miles of habitat for those salmon to spawn. And I'll send you guys some pictures when we get done with this or whatever. I mean, I've got landlocked salmon all the way from 24 to 30 inches in a creek, no more than 5-6 feet wide at some points. And,
wow.
You know, a lot of guys don't even really understand that it's happening over here. And, you know, when I first moved to Massachusetts, I was pretty bummed about it. I moved here for a woman. And pretty soon into it, I realized that there was other things that have happened. And once I started figuring out some of the things that went on around here, I was like, dude, I mean, why has nobody talked about this? And I mean, I realized pretty quickly why people don't talk about it. So.
And here you are talking about it.
Yeah, now we got me on a podcast. So, you know, there we go.
But it's kind of crazy, and a lot of people don't realize it, is that there is so many reproducing fish in a lot of these waters. Like it's kind of crazy. We have a ton of them down here too, where they were stocked salmon. Then the salmon ended up going out, and they actually have like their own little return of Atlantic salmon that we instilled and built ourselves. And it's kind of crazy, honestly, if you think about it.
The landlocks do it very well too, especially some of these small creeks. Like a lot of guys like dry fly fish them in the spring and stuff like that. And like a lot of people mistake them for small wild brown trout. And they're like, oh, in this area it's littered with small wild brown trout. And I'm like, no, salmon bar. That entire area is all spawning area for salmon. And I mean, some of the ones that run up in there are pretty big. But the same thing, like, you know, it's just because we have it happening doesn't mean it's not a little bit of a delicate ecosystem. You know what I mean? Like, there, you know, I mean, this one spot I'm talking about, until they release this dam, they have one river to spawn in other than a couple of small creeks, if you know where they are. And like people know about it, and we have a creel limit here on that river while they're spawning on the one river they can. So like, you know, I mean, Mass Fish and Game has caught people gill netting fish on that river and all kinds of different stuff. And, you know, like I think one thing that, you know, like these wild fish that we have going around here and stuff are very susceptible to what's going on with the culture, especially with the catch and keep culture. And there's a lot of fish that get snagged off these rivers in a very illegal fashion. And that's one thing that I find happens a lot. And it's not, I don't really knock people about it. I think it's a lack of education. You know, I think if most of these guys that are taking this fish knew that it was the one river they're spawning on, I don't think they'd ever take a fish out of it. They just don't know.
Are they recognizing the fact that those fish do spawn in that river?
No.
The state?
Not at all. Oh, and the Stillwater, the state does. Every time I go down there, I find the Fish and Game down there, and we talk about it. And that's the one river they recognize it. The Deerfield's a whole entire different game over there. It was a fight.
Yeah, because so one of the things here in Connecticut is a lot of the times they won't recognize the fact that the fish are reproducing. And they say, oh, yeah, the fish cannot reproduce here. They cannot reproduce here. Well, how else do you get a 4-inch fish? Like, you didn't put those there. Like, and they won't recognize the fact that they actually are reproducing in some of these creeks.
So that's what we ended that's what we had to deal with on the Deerfield. I think it was probably 7 years ago now. The the state didn't want to recognize that we had a wild population of reproducing browns in the area, just so they didn't have to do any further
Mm-hmm.
work on it, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But who better to ask than the people that are out there every single day, right? Like you said, when you're catching like little browns like that, and they're stocking them like that, those are wild fish. They act completely different. They look completely different. You know, it's just a whole different. A fish that is 8 or 10 inches long is going to fight just as hard. A wild one's going to fight just as hard or harder than a 16-inch stocked rainbow. Completely different ballgame.
You don't
take a 16-inch stalker and a 16-inch wild fish. That thing's gonna beat the brakes off you real quick.
Yeah, different ballgame.
It's gonna act
that's
different
what our
too.
clients are seeking now. That's what people are seeking is that wild thrill. People want to get away from the stocking trucks. Anybody can go catch a stock trout kind of in the backyard down at the pond.
Yeah, the truck tracers. We know all about the truck tracers.
Oh yeah,
Oh, man.
up here in Mass, dude, they put a pin online 24 hours after they stock.
Mhm.
They go fish here. So what happens the next day? The place is surrounded.
I mean,
But,
that's why
doesn't
I
matter.
love high water. Like the area we're at around here, I live on 2 pretty good stocked rivers, but they fish really good as long as people don't abuse them too bad. And usually, if we have a year we don't have a lot of rain, people abuse them pretty bad. This year, I mean, right after they did like one stocking, they blew right out, spread every fish around the river, which for me is fantastic. And then it was they stocked it again for whatever reason. They were like, I mean, it's too hard for them. We'll stock it again. And I mean, now that thing is so loaded and we have enough rain that like it's a stocked river. It'll fish good till the end of June, till right till the point it warms up, and some of those fish will hold over too. And that's so with the stocking truck, I have a firm belief that I hate they put the pin right on there. It makes it too easy for people. And like you were talking about the truck chasers, dude, I have never met someone that chases the truck that hard that doesn't take one home in the stringer.
So I guess it's kind of it's like guys who want to mature deer hunt or guys that just want to put meat in the freezer, right? Like there's that equal opportunity for them. Like if they want to go and they want to catch a fish and they want to do their thing, some of us just take a little bit more out of it or want something a little bit more out of it. So I guess I understand it, but on the same token, you're kind of blowing up the area and you're just advertising the fact of it's kind of like a participation trophy. Like, here, just go get yours here now. You paid for a license, so go and catch your fish. And they're not having to work for it. But in the same token, you kind of want them to have a good time so that they continue to do it, right? And they use the resources. So it's a double-edged sword there.
It is for sure. And then especially when I go to eating them, like, I mean, if I have a hard year, I'm not one to pass up a small deer hard year. I mean, I got to eat. I typically, hatchery fish isn't the first one I'm going to eat. I try telling this to people. I mean, you eat farm-raised fish, and a fish raised at a farm, they have regulations that they have to raise it to. Hatchery does not. They feed it whatever, they grow it to whatever, they release it. When you're catching a fish 1 week out of stock, like out of the hatchery and eating it, it's not the best thing for you. And and people are misled. They think they're getting a fish out of the river, and they're getting something that's going to be good for them. And at the end of the day, that is literally a dog food fed fish that's never eaten anything from the river. It's not doing anything natural for you. And that's something pretty misled to people. There's guys out here during the stocking season, they'll fill their freezer with stocked trout. And they're like, I got natural food for, the summer for me and my dogs. And I'm like, you have worse food than the grocery store right now, as a matter of fact.
What are they running the Iditarod?
Dude, it's insane. I know a guy down here who last year he stocked 115 trout into his freezer from our local rivers. And the thing I told him, I was like, what's crazy is they stay fresher in the river.
Yeah.
Wild. Crazy.
Just catch them as you need them.
Down the road, dude. Yeah.
That's unreal. Plus, saltwater fish are better anyways. Once you start eating saltwater fish, I don't know why you want to eat a trout anyways. I mean, I grew up eating trout, but you get in that saltwater fish, it's a little different.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the greatest eating fish out there, man.
Look, it's like white mush. It tastes like the pellets that it's been eating in the hatchery for the past 6-8 months.
Yep.
Well, I got guys too, and they're like, man, like you get the wild ones, they taste real good. And I'm like, dude, he's been eating bugs. Like, what he's been eating is bugs.
It's all protein.
Yeah, just like a carp.
Was the meat how much different is the meat on like a big native or wild brown compared to a stocky? Is color difference too?
I don't know. We've never really cut open a wild one.
Okay.
We kind of let them all go.
We're up, we cut open a lot of wild ones. I will say the wild ones they do. If you get a bigger one, they have a little bit better color. They're a little bit more pink, stuff like that. But the same thing, dude. I mean, a lot of these rivers are not what they used to be. I mean, there's a river that we catch a lot of big wild freestones out of. You couldn't pay me to eat a fish out of it because of the PCBs and stuff like that. And just one of the things, especially big stripers and big trout, you got to think about, dude. They live a long time. Stripers, they hold a lot of mercury. Trout, I mean, they hold a lot of those toxins in. Just because you catch a big, giant, wild brown trout, it's not going to be the best eater. And that's like, if you go to other states, they have slot sizes, and it's for a reason. I mean, not only because it's better for the fishery, because it's better for the people that are eating the fish, and it's science.
Yeah,
science.
I mean,
trust the science.
It's just trust science. That's how we got this far, was trusting science. What'd you say, John?
Trial and error is what it is.
Science. Yeah. Science is definitely trial and error. So
safe and effective.
So take us through a day on the river with you guys. So how does it start? What do you guys? How does a guided trip kind of take toll with you? And kind of what do you guys do? What's the fun things to do on the river, so on and so forth?
Well, John, do you want to tell them about what your day looks like and what my day looks like?
Well, the fact that I show up on time.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
He's getting better at it.
Quinn knows, the hatches, they hatch a little later in the morning sometimes, You gotta get the sun's gotta come up a little bit.
And I'm usually pretty good in the mornings, but I think right now I'm up to I don't know, I got like 40 birds in the backyard. I got a 14-week-old bird dog in the house, plus another puppy, and yeah, morning times are pretty rough for me right now.
So normally what I do is, I wake up at 5 o'clock and I start tying flies right here. It's kind of funny. We tie flies all winter, kind of because we know, the same flies work from year to year. Or we find something different that worked the year before, so we try and tie ahead of time in the winter time, and it never pans out that way. We're always tying the morning of, from something that worked the day before. Because you can critique these flies a million different ways, different weights, different colored beads, flash, no flash, all sorts of shit, and that's kind of why we tie our flies day to day on what's been working. So what we normally do is we meet the clients around 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning. What's cool out here is there isn't really a rush to get on the river. So like the Deerfield, where we fish primarily 90% of the time, it's a tailwater, but so it's all regulated by the dams. What happens is if they don't run water, we can't float, For a reference, low water on the Deerfield is 130 cubic feet per second. The term we use, 130 CFS. When they run water, it's anywhere from 800 to 1,200 cubic feet per second. So it comes up quite a bit.
This year, 1,000 to 2,500.
Yeah, it's been at like 3,000.
We have the water this year, yeah.
Yep. So we meet the clients at 8 o'clock in the morning or so, and then we'll head upriver. There's about 40 miles of trout water just on the Deerfield alone in Massachusetts. So we got there's probably 6 different full day floats you can do. What's cool is every single stretch is different, and we'll meet the clients in the morning around that time, head upriver, and on a full day, we'll do anywhere from 5 to, up to 12 miles of water in a day. It just depends on what's happening, how the fish are eating. Sometimes we won't drop anchor for the whole day and we'll just cruise and just keep floating. It's pretty cool. It's just, you got to figure out what the fish are doing that day. If it takes them 20 drifts to eat a fly, you don't want to be going 12 miles. But if they eat the fly in the first drift, we'll just pick up anchor and drift net fish and just keep going.
So when you say put down the anchor, like you're picking you're putting down the anchor in a hole and just fishing that one hole, or?
Yeah, it depends. So the boats that we run are they're like an inflatable raft boat. They're not like a hard boat like they run out west. So we don't have any easy put-ins or takeouts on the Deerfield, which is kind of how we like it, you know.
Hmm.
And that's what
Not
kind of
one boat launch. Not a
yeah,
single
we
boat
don't have
launch.
a boat
Dude.
launch.
We
So like
winches hooked right up top of the truck. Everything.
I've seen a couple videos on Instagram of
Yeah.
you guys launching.
Yeah.
yeah, like mine today, I had to winch mine down to get to the river. It was
Yeah.
like a legit over 45-degree angle.
I mean, depending on the clients too, we winch them down. If we have some older clients or whatever, we'll put them in the boat and winch them down
I got
to the
video
river.
of that.
Yeah.
I will pay
Dude,
to see
we
you
got-
winch Trev down the side of a cliff.
Dude, when I say that, I'm not kidding, man. I mean, I just had Saturday, I had a guy out from Michigan, and he was 87 years old. And, I mean, he's still kicking, and John's got some regular clients that are right around that age or whatever. And, I mean, they're still fishing. They'll fish an 8-hour day hard with us, but, I mean, they'll fish an 8-hour day hard, but as far as getting in the boat and out of the boat, you do have to make some special accommodations, you know what I mean? Like, you know, if I'm 86 years old and I don't have to have any special accommodations for me to climb down a 45-degree angle bank and get in the boat, I'll be pretty happy about it. I'll be happy if I'm doing what these guys do. But yeah, we make it happen for them. You know what I mean?
But we can get into like any spots. You know, that's what's cool. We run those rubber boats, those inflatable boats. I mean, they're not super light, but they're pretty light, and we can drag them through the woods, throw them down cliffs, like over dams and shit like that. You know, and you can do some serious whitewater in them too. We do some pretty rugged whitewater. With and without
Class 5 capable. Yeah. John, what would you say one of our boats with the frame and our gear in it goes?
It's only a few 100 pounds.
I was going to say, we're up at 225 once we float with water in it, 250.
Yep. So we run flatbeds on the trucks. We have winches on the flatbed so we can winch them out, put them on a flatbed. We don't really run trailers. So it just makes everything easier. You can get into tight spots. You don't have to worry about backing a trailer into a boat launch. I mean, God, on Saturday, we pulled over. I fished a small brook here because there was a bunch of water in it. So I fished that with a client. We could get a boat down in it. And he's like, I was like, well, we could put in at the normal spot here at the pull-off, but we could also put in up here and go fish below the dam. He's like, he looks around. He goes, fuck it. Everybody knows me here. Pull it right over. We're parked in the middle of the road right next to you couldn't even pull off because there was a guardrail there. So we're unloading the boat, getting it sideways, you know. I mean, it's a little different out here. Nobody really cares about what we do. But throw it off the side. I've never done that before there. You know? You can put the boats in anywhere.
That's awesome.
That's got to be really cool because it keeps a lot of people out of those rivers, right? Like, they can't float them. They can't do nothing. You guys are pretty exclusive to what you got going on.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I have a guy that I fish with out here. He's got a pretty good following on his Instagram or whatever, and he went out to Michigan and bought a stealth craft, and he's like, let's go float the Deerfield. And I was like, sweet, dude. Buddy boat me, you were all behind me, and I was like, sent him to put in points or whatever. He looked at it on the satellite, and he was like, I'm not doing that with you. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, how am I going to get my boat in the river and out of the river? And I was like, well, I mean, we got two of us, dude. We'll drag it up and out. I got my winch, and he's like, no, I'm not doing that to my boat. And I'm like, oh. It's like, yeah, dude. I mean, we do it to our boats every single day. I mean, I will say one thing. I mean, these ARE rafts they're tough. I mean, John, when you say how hard we beat on them, I mean, if you put out a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say?
6 for me, 10 for you.
I'm a 10 out of 10 on that boat all day long. Every single day.
Quinn.
Yeah.
Destroying shit, man. Destroying shit all the time.
Show up late and fuck shit up when you get there.
Pretty much, man. I'm all about brute force and ignorance at the end of the day, you know?
If it doesn't fit, force it. If it broke, it was meant to break.
Oh, yeah. Man, we could go into all kinds of stories.
I want to hear them. Let them have it.
Dude, there isn't anything that I haven't seen on that river over the past 12 years. So, like, it gets recreational activity, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So there's, like, whitewater companies that go down there and float whitewater. There's tubers that go there in the summertime and tube. I mean, shit, dude. I remember, I think it was the first or second year I was guiding. we're down there throwing these big honking streamers, right? Because I thought we could just throw big streamers around and catch big fish all the time. And the whitewater boats, you normally can hear them coming because all the kids are screaming and shit like that, bouncing off rocks and stuff. And they just like we were in a piece of fast whitewater and anchored up, and they snuck in behind us. And this guy goes to make a back cast, goes right in to the one of the people in the boat and hooks him like right between the thumb and the finger with this like big, like almost like a 2-aught hook, right? So now we're anchored, and they're just like they're cruising by like in the whitewater, and like his rod's like. That's a good one, man. And
Get the net.
yeah, get the net. Need a bigger net than that. So like the guide in the whitewater boat, they jump up. She like whips out this freaking Bowie knife, and I'm like, she's getting ready to cut. I'm like, don't cut the fucking fly line, you know, like cut it above the fly, because you know fly lines now are what $100, $120 a piece.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And so I'm like pulling up anchor, trying to row after him, and we, you know, she blows the whistle. So with like when you hear a whistle blowing on the river, it kind of means like, you know, all heads up, something's going on. So we go over there. He's like gapped, you know, right through the flesh there, all the way through. And you know, long story short, she wanted us to. She said she was going to have to, you know, quit the trip and blah blah blah. I said, well, I could pull that out for you. Pretty sure I could get it in one shot. And the guy says, yeah, why don't you do that? And you know, you give him the old 1, 2, 3 count, and you pull it on one, and hope to God it comes out the first time. And it did. It came out smooth. But yeah, no, I'll never forget that one. I mean, that line was zinging, man, like we had an Atlantic on there. We're anchored up and they're cruising. Like you can see that line
then you
straight across. But the guy yelled at me, he's like, "You got my effing hand!" I was like, "Yeah,
well,
we
I mean,
did."
Then you find on the river just things that are just, you know, I don't want to say stupidity to sound mean, but stupidity. I mean, I don't have kids, and I only got a few nephews. When I was first working with John, we're floating down the river, and we get like there's sometimes you get tubers on the river during the summer, and I'm like, we have these people raft by us, and like there's like a adult in the front, adult in the back, and you know like young
beers.
kids in between them, 100 beers. Like when I say young kids, I mean probably like under 3. And I was like, I looked at John, I was like, man, ain't that pretty cold for a kid? You know, on how many miles is that to put in and take out, John, in that stretch that happened? I mean, it's a couple hour float.
It's a few, yeah.
Yeah. And John's like, oh, yeah, I'll be all right. I mean, as they pull over this, and the other. So right after he says that, dude, I look at this tube and I just see this little bucket hat sticking out the top of it. And I'm like, John, what's that? And like John looks over and he's like, that's a kid alone. And he's like, row, Quinn. So we start rolling and I'm like, is it all good? And he's like, no, it's a fucking 3-year-old by himself. It's not okay, Quinn. Like, go get him. Dude, we get over to the kid. John grabs him, throws him in the raft or whatever. First thing the kid says is like, I'm scared. And we're like, I'm sure you are. A couple of minutes later, the dad comes swimming downriver. Oh, I didn't think I'd lose the raft that quick. And like, I mean, those are the things that causes pretty good accidents in the river. I mean, just I mean, yeah, I mean, a 3-year-old kid, I mean, he was wearing a life jacket, but I mean, I think that day, the water was under 60 degrees that day. And I mean, he was literally, his dad was probably, what would you say, John, a good 300-400 yards away from him.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So you probably see it. Like, how big is the Deerfield? Like, I've never really actually. I don't think I've ever seen it. But is it pretty wide? It's a pretty big river.
Yeah, so it gets wider as you get further down it, obviously. But for the amount of water that pushes through certain spots, like little pinch points or rock gardens, we call them, you get some pretty legitimate like whitewater in certain spots. That, like, if you were going down, you know, even in our boats, I mean, our boats are 13 feet long, but if you hit one sideways and you high side, like, you can flip a boat easy in there.
So it's like a comparison, like a Farmington River or something like that. Have you guys ever fished a Farmington?
I would say so, Quinn, wouldn't you?
It's a little more rugged than the Farmington. I fished the Farmington a good amount.
Size-wise.
Yeah, so I mean, the Farmington's got good rock gardens, but the Farmington doesn't. In my experience, Farmington doesn't push quite as hard.
Right.
And even in the rock gardens, there's some sections that to make it through in a raft in the Farmington, you got to be pretty technical about it.
Right.
But even if you got pinned up, you could probably hop out of the boat, get it over the raft, give it over the rock. There's some spots on the Deerfield where that's not happening. Like you get pinned in, you're gonna be in a serious situation. And no, the Farmington's one. I haven't floated it, but I've wanted to. If you floated the Farmington, I think you know how upset people would be about that.
Could you imagine rolling up to your church pool and in a float boat? They would lose their minds.
Oh man, dude, I would love to go stick a 24 out of church out of the raft in front of a bunch of people, and then go right to that bar out there and get those Irish nachos they serve. Man,
it sounds like a good time. So
yeah.
So what are some of the things that you guys are looking for when you're floating to find those fish to be held up?
What's cool about the Deerfield is every stretch is different, so you kind of have to fish every stretch differently. So, a unique thing we found is the big wild browns that are in there, that we catch all winter long because we guide 12 months out of the year. Up until when they start stocking, like in March, the last week in March, those stock fish will actually push those big dominant wild browns out of these like good feeding lanes or these good runs. And they'll push those guys way off to these little banks that no one would ever think a fish would be on. And like that's where we target most of the time for trying to catch those big wild fish. Like they'll be in a spot away from everybody else. It could be a bank that they go to every summer, depending. But we fish the obvious spots to try and just put numbers in the boat. But when you're trying to target the big wild fish, which is what we're doing more often now, you're looking for different spots in the river that, for one, don't get fished too often. What's hard about the Deerfield is like the water goes up and down, right? So like what looks like a really good spot at high water could be bone dry at low water. But the fish get used to it, so they'll move in. Once the high water comes up, they feel it coming, shit gets flushed in from the banks. And a lot of times these fish will go right to the banks because the current is so fast in the middle. So like a lot of the wade fishermen, like they'll try and wade in as far as they can and try and cast way out to the middle. But like if they turned around and fished the bank, that's where the big ones are. They already stepped on them.
Then there's holes on the Deerfield. Like when you float by it, there's a few. Like I'm still waiting to the day I stick a giant fish out of it because it looks good. But like it only looks good when the water comes up, and it only looks good if the water comes up to like 1,000. So if it's like 1,000 for like a week, like a fish might migrate and find that good hold. But the Deerfield's one of those rivers. I mean, when I first started guiding with John, he taught me how to row, and then I thought I had a pretty good idea how to guide and this, and that, and the other, but it's a whole different ball game. Like you have to memorize the river because if you're rowing a boat and your client catches a fish or your client breaks off and this, and that, and the other, you have to know without looking where the next rock is coming. You have to have your path set, like everything. To guide a river like that while fishing. And we do a lot of new clients too. So, you got 2 brand new guys, one in front of you, one behind you, and you're rowing whitewater trying to get these guys into fish. You can come into some troubles pretty quick.
That is so as far as troubles, you're trying to pay attention to what's going on, plus gear the guys up and teach them and kind of put them in the right place, and that all in the same exact time.
Yeah, that's why you have to have it memorized. Like John taught me that a long time ago. Like every stretch that I row right now, I have it pretty much memorized. Like timed. Like a certain section, I'll know I got guys fish, and just in my head how fast I'm floating, I'll know that I have to have them take it out, or I'll anchor up and start fishing a section. And it's kind of, I break the river down into sections, and I know every section where I got to be, when I got to be there, and where the guys got to be doing what they have to be.
Is that how things get destroyed because you forgot in memorization where you had to go, so you just ride it real hard and just send it, or?
No, things get destroyed for me because I get overzealous and I'm like, I push things. I have spots where I know that I can kind of push it, and even if I have 2 clients in the boat, I know we can get a pretty big one at the end of the spool if I beach the boat on the rocks, and I'll get out and drag the boat off the rocks back into the main run. And no offense, John, but I don't pay for this shit.
I knew it was coming. I knew it. John's like, yeah, well, he might not be guiding tomorrow.
Yeah, he knew within 2 days of meeting me what it was going to be.
How long have you been with him now?
3 years.
What's that? 3 years, yeah.
So
I remember that. I remember the first trip, dude. I mean, I put him in the boat. What was it, like July or something like that? I think it was July.
I don't know. I will say one thing. I've been trying to teach my dad how to row so I can get some time on a boat without, actually like rowing it or whatever. So I brought my dad to the section I learned to row on at the same time John did. I mean, I learned to row with probably not 9, probably 5 other boats on the river at a time. And, it was a thing. My dad straight up was like, I won't do it.
Every other boat in the river going down through it, too.
I hit one boat. I hit one boat.
this sounds like a good time, dude. I'm gonna check this out.
Yeah,
It's
let's
like
go.
whitewater rafting, fly fishing, bumper boats.
I'm going with Quinn.
Oh,
But
I haven't bumper boated other than that one time, and it was. I don't want to blame it on someone else, but there was another guy that was pretty responsible for the situation. Not John.
he got a little overzealous, did he?
No, I mean, we started having a conversation
as we're dropping into whitewater.
as we're dropping into whitewater, and I didn't know we were dropping into whitewater. I was just having a first time rowing that one section. I'm just out there having a conversation. I expected John would like let me know, and he's like, "Yo, you're about to ram someone," and I'm like, "What?" Well, start rowing. And I'm like, "Dude, fuck." Learn quick.
So you said 2 clients. Is it usually two fishermen per boat? Is that a full boat?
Yep.
And then you said earlier, it sounded like you said you used to throw a lot of big streamers for big fish. Has that changed? Like, I know it probably changes throughout the year, but like typically, what do you find most effective?
So back in the day, and I'll let Quinn kind of go in on this for the streamer fishing part, but I mean, we'll catch big fish on dries or little nymphs, but most of the time we would throw like a big 6-inch, 7-inch streamer, big fly, big fish. And we'd move a lot of big fish. We'd catch even little fish, but like our success rate wasn't really up there. So what we were finding was the smaller flies, like around, for us, it was like a 3.5-inch to like a 4-inch streamer is what works. And what fish like to eat, we run a lot of crayfish patterns in the river.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, big trout eat crayfish, but they don't eat the big giant ones. They eat those little ones that they can digest. So it's about having the right size, right action, everything like that. But Quinn has a good little saying. He says, feed it to the fish, don't take it from them. Right? So, like, we used to go out there, cast off these banks, and just rip those streamers off the bank, and the fish would come chase it out, and that's all they do. Then they go right back in there again. So streamer fishing is a whole different game in its own, as far as where you cast that fly in the bank, where it comes through on the bank, what pocket it comes through, whether it stalls out, sinks, floats up, flutters, changes direction. There's a lot of different.
The streamer fishing can be a complicated game, and a lot of guys go out there and they think they're going to rip a big 6-inch streamer. And granted, you can go out there and rip a big 6-inch streamer that moves water the right way, and you'll move a bunch of fish. But whether or not they're going to commit on it and eat it is a whole entire different story. And like, I love moving fish, man. I can move fish all day long and really not care that much about it. But at the same time, I do want my client to put a big one in the boat. So it's like I started like a long time ago playing with different streamer patterns, and to be honest with you, most of the time I'm fishing a streamer, it's on more of a dead drift than anything else. I do a lot of, like, honestly, if I'm out fly fishing by myself these days, I don't even use a fly line. I'm all on a mono rig. And yeah, I mean, a dead drift with a couple twitches is a lot more tempting to a big wild brown. And then, like John said, how I say feed it to them. And so a lot of my clients, I don't fish them on a mono rig with a streamer. It's kind of, pretty advanced stuff. And that's, one thing you have to kind of cater what you're going to do to your client's skill level. I mean, if you got a client that's, not, it's their first 5-6 times fly fishing, I'm not going to put them on an 18-foot dry fly leader and have them struggle it out. You know what I mean? Ains, what's going on, girl?
So are you the mono rig? Are you doing that more so to keep the fly line out of the water to give the streamer a more natural presentation?
Go ahead, Quinn.
Yeah, so that yes and no. So to be 100% honest with you, on a fly line, I can give a streamer a little bit better of a presentation.
Okay.
But the thing with the mono rig, man, I mean, like now that I have it dialed, I myself can give it a very good presentation on a mono rig. But the thing is like and nymphs, dry flies, everything I fish on a mono rig. I barely use a fly line anymore. I try to convert all my clients, but it's a hard game.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is it's strike detection. That's why the mono rig is so effective, is because when you're fishing a mono rig and you're doing it right, a fish never touches your fly and you don't know about it. You miss them, but you know about it every single time. And they'll hook themselves most of the time. So that's the thing. I mean, if you're fishing a streamer on a fly line and if you guys fly fish, you do a lot of guys do the jerk strip. You have a half inch of play in that line every single time. If that half inch of play is at one time that big wild brown moves out and get it, you're probably going to miss him more than likely. And if you keep it in the water, he'll come back. But if you're doing it on a tight line, man, that's why I say feed it to him and feed it to him, then give it to him. I cast it at the bank, and if I'm on a fly line or a streamer thing, I'll put it on the bank and give that thing 2 or 3 big strips. Move some fucking water, you know what I'm saying? And then, dude, when you look at the river and you're floating down, if you see a spot that, like I would imagine a big brown trout to be over there, that's where I'm going to pause my fly over. And I'm not gonna make him work out of his spot. I'm gonna strip it into his spot, get his attention, and then feed it to him in that spot. Not rip it through his spot, dude. I mean, I'm not a big guy, but I'm a lazy guy. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna chase that out there. You know what I'm saying? Like my wife's right here in the living room. I ain't chasing nothing.
Let me ask you this, Quinn. So, mono rig.
Yeah, I'm all about this mono rig thing. So keep digging in on this.
Man.
Would it be easier? Say you're a newer fly fisherman. Would it be easier to just learn on a mono rig? Or do you think it'd be easier to learn more traditional way with a fly line and then get into a mono rig? Like, is there bad habits or should you learn the technique with a fly line before you start screwing around with the mono rig?
Yeah, you need, because one of my biggest things that I get from clients is they don't want to fish the mono rig because they like fly casting. And that's because people teach the mono rig the wrong way. They put super heavy nymphs on it and you lob weight around. And I tell guys all the time, I caught some of my biggest dry fly fish on a mono rig, casting a mono rig with just a single dry fly. And that's the thing, dude. If you can cast and it's weight, dude. It's the only thing missing is the fly line coating and a little bit of weight. And these rods are meant to do it, especially if you get them from where we do our rods. And so you can still cast it, but you have none of the benefits of the aid that your fly line gives you. You have to have perfect casting technique. And then same thing, dude, even when so I get guys that even they want to do the mono rig thing and they're like, oh, I'm lobbing it. And I'm like, because you're not doing it the right way. Because you'll lob it and see a lot of guys, your flies land on the water and your sighter lands in the water, and then you stand it up and you start going. That's not what you want to do. Call it sticking the landing. You want to make that cast. We call it tuck cast. So you want to make your cast just like you're doing with the fly line, and then at the lift at the very end. And you want your flies to enter, if you're running a 2-fly rig, just in a straight line. That bottom fly, top fly, sighter, and you want to ease it in, because if you drop it at the head of the pool and there's a 24-inch wild brown up there and your sighter's laying on the water, he might have hit it and you didn't even know it because your sighter was laying on the water.
Right.
So it's definitely one of those things that a lot of guys they go out and they see people do it and they're thinking the lob and weights, but there's a lot more to it when you start doing really good drifts. And but like you said, my wife, I can take my wife anywhere between Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Vermont, and she will absolutely destroy them on a mono rig. Because that's what I've got her tuned into right now. If we were going and doing 80-foot dry fly cast or whatever, it'd probably be a little bit of a different story, even though she did go catch a bonefish at 90 feet last year on her honeymoon. So
we should have her on the podcast.
I don't know why we have Quinn. No.
right over here somewhere.
So anyways, long story short, my big question is I'm super green with fly fishing, really just kind of getting the techniques down now. I should probably not really worry about mono rig right now.
No, not really. Learn to cast your fly line. Learn to cast your fly line good. Yeah. And then once you cast your fly line good, Just know that that's always going to be your basic set of it. And if you ever want to go back to dry fly fishing, and when you go back to bass fishing, you're going to be doing it on a fly line. And then when you transfer to the mono rig, I mean, it's a pretty hard transfer, to be 100% honest with you.
Okay. Well, that's what I was asking. Like, maybe it's something that it's just easier to just learn right from the rip, but that's not the case. So I'm glad I asked.
You'll sell yourself short. That's
Okay.
I mean, you'll catch a shitload of fish on the mono rig. You'll get it dialed in quick like that, but you'll be stuck into that circle.
Okay. That's
the first time you have a big dry fly hatch happen and stuff.
You know how it is. You start going, especially fly fishing, right? You start going down that rabbit hole, and you're watching YouTube videos, and you're trying to learn this, and you're trying to, and like, there's always something else, and then you start seeing mono rig, and you're like, ooh, what's this? And it's like, dude, you didn't even figure out this other shit first. So it's like, kind of stay focused on get good at something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It seems like jumping right into saddle hunting, and then it's the only thing that you do, and you don't understand the other tools. You went right to the top, right? I mean, it's kind of in the same.
Or like maybe like one sticking or something.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think it kind of depends on like how you want to fish it too.
Right.
You know, I mean, if you're gonna hunt the same tree every time, there's no point in getting up in a saddle all the time.
Right.
Right.
Right. If you're gonna hunt the same tree all the time every year, you should put the most comfortable thing out there.
Right.
And I think with like the whole fly fishing thing, like what's tough is knowing what's going on underneath the water and what your flies are doing under the water, because you don't know. You really don't know. You know, you have different currents going every which way. So even if you have an indicator or a bobber up top and your nymphs are down below, you have some idea, but there's slack in the system. Like the water's pushing shit around. The fish could eat it without you even knowing. You don't really know where your flies are in the drift. So like once you understand how that doesn't work as good, then the tight lining thing kind of comes together and makes you realize, okay. I mean, it's like a personal like depth finder, pretty much, is what it does.
Yeah. And one
find
thing too,
drop-offs, everything.
Say about the mono rig is a lot of people don't understand that wading skills, being able to wade a river and wade deep is as big a part of fishing a mono rig as actually fishing itself. Because I mean, my mono rig rod's a 10'10", and I don't fish more than 3 feet out from the end of my rod if I'm going to do a good drift. There's sometimes I'm going across the river if I have a heavy set, but my best drifts are going to be within 3 feet from the end of that rod. Right. And I tell people I fish it before I walk it. Everything. If I'm going to walk through it, I fish it.
When you say mono rig, you're not talking like center pinning.
No.
So take it like what is a mono rig? Like what is the?
So my setup is I run what you could call a standard mono rig, and mine is I have a fly line on my reel. It just never comes out. I have about 50 feet of 20-pound Maximilian mono. It's red. And then from there, I taper it down, and I got a 18-inch section of 15-pound mono. And then from there, I have a little bit of clear mono at 10-pound. 10-pound cider, and then after the 10-pound cider, I go down to my tippet and then my flies. So basically what you're doing is you cast it in the river, your flies go in the water, and so I don't know if you guys quite see me. So your flies are in the water, you get them down to that area. So every single river has its own strike zone, and it depends on the size of the boulders in the river. So like if you got a river that's a bunch of hand-sized rocks or whatever, you're probably going to have a 6 to 8 inch buffer. And so how you know you're in it is so when you cast, even with an indicator, is you get it in on the mono rig, you can literally feel it. You can feel your flies get down in that zone. But on an indicator or that, you watch like the bubble and the surface tension, that stuff on top, all of a sudden your rig gets slightly slower than that. And that's because that bottom layer of the river has that rocks and debris and stuff like that in it, and it's got a slower layer of current. And that's where the fish live. So you got that slower layer of current, you got your middle current, and then you got your surface tension, and your surface tension is the fastest current. So if you're a fish, you're going to sit down in the rocks where that current is the slowest. And no matter how much all of us think we're great dry fly fishermen, fish eat it 90% below the surface in that strike zone. So where the mono rig comes in is you can tell when you're in that strike zone because you can literally feel your flies get pulled into that bottom layer strike zone, and every strike that happens, you can immediately feel it on the end of your rod.
I'm blown away.
That's why I was like, it's so intriguing, but it's like, that's a whole nother can of worms, and I haven't even like started the can of worms that I opened up last week. You know?
I make it sound like sometimes I make it sound more complicated than it is, to be 100% honest with you. Like, I'm able to show it a lot better. It honestly, it's a lot more simple than I make it sound. I mean, there's a million different ways you can cut it up, and you can take your leaders and your tippet and how the water affects it and this and that and the other. I mean, there's a trout bitten podcast. These guys do it very well, but like you can make it as complicated as you want to.
I actually listened to. I think it's the exact one you're talking about, and yeah.
So
yeah.
You're fishing that with weight. You're fishing it with weight too.
In the flies.
So weighted. So like weighted nymphs or whatever. So you have weighted nymphs.
Yep.
So you have weighted nymphs, and then it goes up. You have one or two.
I run two a lot of the time.
And then you have your indicator up top.
If I'm not running a tight line, then I have my indicator. Or this time of year, now that things are starting to get to a good time of year, we're on a dry dropper, so we have a big foam dry fly, and then 2 feet underneath of it a nymph.
Okay. Yeah, just trying to tear it all apart because it's super cool. It's a lot, it's a lot to take in.
Yeah. Well, and then a lot of the reason, like when we start this time of year, when we start running the dry fly, is the dry fly is a way more sensitive indicator than the actual indicator is. So when they start eating smaller bugs and stuff like that, they take them a little bit more subtly, and you start running a softer indicator.
And
but that's kind of what's cool for us is like we come across so many different clients, right? We have clients that fish all over the world and fish all sorts of different species and can do that kind of stuff and want to get better at that kind of stuff. And then we have clients that just want to come out and have a good time, right? You just make it simple, simplify it down. You're out there to have a good time no matter what anyways, and you just got to find the willing fish, so you can take it to whatever level you want.
Right.
I tell people all the time, I'll make it as complicated as you want me to.
Do you know what the good thing about being a guide is? No matter what you say, they're going to believe it anyways because that's what they're there to do is to listen to you and what you say.
Well, I said someone like the other day it started raining on us real good, and I was like, could you imagine being a weatherman, man? Being paid to be wrong 50% of the time? And he was like, you're a fishing guide. I'm literally paying you to maybe be wrong. I was like, you got me.
You got me. Yeah. Yep. That's how it goes. So where can everybody kind of find you guys if they're looking to kind of follow along, see you, got a website, something like that they can kind of check you guys out?
Yeah, we're on social media a little bit. It's just kind of hard for us to keep up with it. We don't have a big following, but we just put fun stuff on there and from time to time when we have the time to do it. But we have a website, we do have a pretty good website. We get a lot of hits off of it. So, squaretailanglers.com. Squaretail Anglers, we're on Instagram. We try and get on there as much as we can. So,
where did the name Squaretail Anglers come from?
So, when I was a kid, I don't think I really wanted to start guiding until I was halfway through college. When I was halfway through college, I wanted to do the whole research thing. I was into the whole research of the fish and like growing fish and things like that. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to be indoors whatsoever. I want to be outside every single day. And so I just kind of took a leap of faith from then. But what I did a lot as a kid was I did a lot of, they call it now blue lining or whatever they call it. But it's pretty much, all mountain stream fishing, looking for little brookies. And for me as a kid, like that was the funnest thing. Like you'd be looking for deer tracks at the same time, but going up these little brooks and trying to find these little, native brook trout, the wild brook trout. That's kind of what was cool. And it kind of doesn't bode well too much now because we're chasing brown trout and rainbows for the most of the part. But that was the name I started with, and it's kind of hard to switch names after a while. So
yeah, well, every time you look at the hat, you know where you came from, so that's all that really matters.
Yeah. Yep.
Little known fact that brown trouts are referred to as a trutta.
A trutta. Why do they call him a trutta?
You'd have to ask John about that. He's the one. Yeah, he's the one with the degree.
Quinn just goes, hey, you want to know this fact? Yeah. All right, that's my buddy. Why?
I mean, I went to school too. I didn't finish, but I went to school for guiding. And they dissolved my major before I finished. So.
Hey, I'm here with the smart guy.
Over here.
Yeah, here with the smart guy. Well, before we cut you guys loose, why don't you tell us what drives you guys outdoors?
Go ahead, Quinn.
Man, I mean, I grew up outdoors. I grew up running hounds and stuff like that, and especially, I mean, it's always just been kind of what makes me happy. But especially years ago, I kind of uprooted my entire life, moved to Boston out of all places, and kind of remade things work. And from there, man, I mean, going to a new area and kind of, I won't lie, I had it made where I grew up. Like, you know, I had access to the land that I wanted to hunt. I could run my dogs where I wanted to hunt, stuff like that. And then I uprooted myself and came out here. And then I quickly realized out here, the actual learning of the woods and stuff like that is actually really what keeps me going, the learning of the rivers. And, I mean, we could all sit there and go to the woods. We grew up deer hunting. I lost my property back at home I hunt or whatever, but we can go and hunt those woods all day long and fish those same rivers we grew up fishing. And at the end of the day, we're really not going to learn that much. It's really going out in the woods, going to new places, figuring it out and making it for yourself. Not to offend anyone, but like at the end of the day, no one cares what your grandpappy killed or where your grandpappy killed it. They care about where you killed it or what you got. And it's all about going out there, establishing that, and, you know, like making your skills and actually getting out there and making them, doing it, improving it. Because you can grow up on your family land and your family river and do pretty good, but until you uproot yourself and actually go out and immerse yourself into a new woods or a new river, you don't know what salt you're worth.
That's a t-shirt.
I'll tell you right now, a lot of times Trev usually comments on some of these, but I'm going to say that was one of my favorite ones right there.
I want a commission.
No bullshit. Huh? What'd he say?
I want a commission.
That hit good.
Yeah.
No one
It's true.
cares. No one cares what your
They're wanting a
grandpappy
commission
killed.
part.
We call them royalties.
Yeah, okay. All right. Whatever you want to call it, I'll take it.
No, but it's so true though, Quinn, right? Like it's so easy to and I can relate also, right? Like yeah, you can, and this isn't against anybody that does this, but like you can go hunt the same farm every year and shoot a nice buck every year from the same tree and stack them up. And it's like, okay, yeah, you're getting success, but like how good of a hunter are you? Until you start challenging yourself and taking yourself to other places and going to other states. And like you said, you can go fish the same fishing hole and pull out a stringer full of trout every Saturday. But until you decide to get in the truck and drive an hour and 45 minutes away and find new trout and new waters or whatever, that's when you start dialing in. That's when you start finding out how good you really are.
And John, well, I mean, when I moved out here or whatever, I mean, I know some pretty good deer hunters and stuff. I will say John, have you ever killed a deer out of the same tree ever? Or the same woods, really?
It's the same thing as like fishing. Like, you know, I kind of get bored of going to the same spot, and I don't really like to, whether it's fishing or hunting. Like, if I kill a deer off that hill, like, I'm probably not going back there ever again, to be honest with you. I'll go maybe somewhere around there or something, but for the most part, it's like I don't want to go sit back in that same tree. But it's the same with fishing, too. I mean, it's kind of just that allure, that draw. Like, all right, you went to one spot, you got a big one. Let's go try and, a big fish. Let's go try and catch a big fish over here. You know they're there. There's one there somewhere. You know, you just got to find him and figure out what he wants and make him eat. And sometimes they're right there in plain sight of, like, public, not public water, but easy access. I mean, we've got a bunch of big fish, like, right at the put in or right at the takeout or like right in front of a bunch of people fishing. Like, what's crazy is if those fish don't want to eat, they're not going to eat. They might not move to the crazy spots away from everybody. They could sit right in plain sight. So kind of like what a deer does too sometimes.
Right.
Until you push him out of there.
Yeah, sits
we
right
actually
over
had
the
a
parking lot.
conversation with I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Joe Goodspeed. He designed rods for Thomas & Thomas, and now he runs Diamondback. But we had him out in the boat, and we were up near a feeder stream, and he was, he was casting up to the head where that feeder stream goes in. It was springtime, and he was like, a lot of these big, wild, dominant brown trout, they'll get their ass kicked eventually by the next young comer up in the pool once they get to their age, and they'll kind of go retire or whatever. And me and John were talking to him, and we were like, it's very similar to what deer will do. You'll find a deer that's a very dominant deer in the area. And especially around here, some of these suburb deer, they get old. I mean, there's deer around here, they get harvested 10, 12 years old. And they do get ran off by some of these younger bucks. And it happens, and they kind of go relocate themselves into around here. A lot of it will be in someone's backyard next to their kid's jungle gym where they'll never get touched ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we could talk deer, but we're not going to do that.
we'll have to have you guys on again. We'll talk some deer this fall.
Talk some northern deer. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. John, tell us what drives you outdoors, my friend.
Well, like I said before, it was just kind of going to new places. I mean, like the fly fishing takes you to some of the most beautiful places in the world, whether it's the type of fish or just the kind of water, like it always brings you to a beautiful place, and also it's, like I said, it's the drive of trying to catch a fish out of a certain spot, or the fact that you've already caught some fish here, and it's just, you want to figure them out in a different area, figure something out, how to catch them in a different river, or just like a whole different kind of idea. But I guess that's what kind of drives me, is the kind of, like you said, you could kill multiple deer out of the same tree, but like, how good are you? You want to be able to do it in every situation possible, whether it's deer hunting or fly fishing or something like that. You want to be able to go to something you've never been to and still find them, So that's kind of like my drive. What kind of keeps us going?
Constantly challenging yourself. That's how I look at it.
Yep.
Well, guys,
this is a new up and comer right here.
I see it. He's ready to rock and roll.
We're going to talk off air, but I want to come up for a boat ride before the summer's over, and I want to send Trev over Clef on that winch too. We're going to get that on the old Instagram.
Dude, I got a spot right down here. I float for smallmouth, and we got a bridge, Fitch's Bridge. I throw it every time I float it. I do a double backflip off the bridge.
That's awesome. Ooh. We're going to talk off air about that too, because I'm already eyeballing some smallmouth this summer too down here. So I got some questions to talk about that too.
Yeah, we didn't even get into the carp fishing thing, but there's definitely a lot of stuff that you guys got going on. We really appreciate you guys jumping on with us. I don't think that it will be the last time. We really appreciated the talk with you. If you guys haven't already, make sure and go check them out. Square-tailed anglers. Go and check them out. Book a trip with them. And for everybody else, thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.
Want to plan your next fishing trip without the hassle? FishingBooker.com is the best way to find and book a fishing charter anywhere in the world. Whether you're chasing trophy fish or just looking for a family day on the water, Fishing Booker makes it simple, fast, and secure. With thousands of experienced guides, verified reviews, and 24/7 customer support, Fishing Booker takes the guesswork out of planning. Visit FishingBooker.com and book your trip today. Fishing Booker. Fishing trips made easy.